Welcome to Secrets from the Saddle podcast. I'm Sylvie Dow, your host, fellow cyclist, bike club founder, cycling coach, bike race junkie, just truly super passionate about cycling. My journey with cycling started 20 years ago when I opened a spin studio, started a women's race team, and founded a women's only cycling club called Cycle Fit Chicks. I'm super thrilled to reveal all aspects that make the world of cycling operate. I'm so excited to be able to bring you interesting people from around the world, pro cyclists, recreational cyclists, coaches, event organizers, bike shop owners, everything and everyone you need to know or ever wondered about when it comes to cycling. I know you'll enjoy this episode. All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, all things cycling podcast. Today, we have a real amazing woman here, M Hed. So her and her husband, Steve. So if you've ever heard of HED wheels, these are the founders. We're going to be talking to Anne today about how she and her husband founded the company that has produced some of the best cycling and aerodynamic wheels on the market. So I hope you're ready for this one, and here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, all things cycling podcast with your host, Sylvie Dow. And we have the amazing and entrepreneurial lady here with us, M Hed, who is the CEO and president and founder of HED Cycling. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar and probably seen a set of these wheels at some point in time. They're gorgeous. They have deep dish. They have the triathlon set, which I'm trying to think of the full dish. What is that? The disc wheel. Yeah. And I had the pleasure, I have not met Anne personally, but I did meet one of her, representatives at Unbound Gravel. It was Catherine Stewart, and she was with Rach McBride. And I recognized Rach. She introduced me to Catherine, and that's how we were able to get Anne on the podcast. I am so excited to talk to you. Like, it's great to talk to a female entrepreneur these days. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to chat with you and tell you the story of HED Cycling, because it's a bit of a love story. I think. I
love it. So, now let's. Like, the first thing I always love to ask is how you got into cycling and how it led you and your former husband, Steve, to create the company.
Yeah. So, we're going to go back a few years.
Yeah.
So, in the early 80s, I was actually in college, and I saw, which so many people have seen, the infamous Julie Moss in the Hawaiian Ironman with her finish as she crawled across the finish line. And I think, we all just saw her heroism and her ability to just get through the pain and finish that race. And I had been a swimmer when I was in high school, and, had to bike back and forth to work, and was just a mediocre runner. But, I had this dream of doing a triathlon, and that one in Hawaii then became the ultimate dream. So I saw that race, and I decided that I wanted to try to qualify for the Hawaiian Ironman. And I was fortunate enough to go to a race in Texas. And back in those days, similar to today, you have to birth your entry. It isn't just anybody that can get into that race. Yeah. So I got in a car. I'm in Minnesota, and I drove to Austin, Texas, and it was a Bud Light race. It was called that back then, and I won. So, wow. Yeah, I had only done a couple triathlons prior to that, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I have an entry into the Ironman. I'm 20 years old. I have no money. I have a pathetic bike, but I have this love of this sport. So,
Naturally strong, I would imagine.
yeah, I mean, like I said, being a swimmer back then
Mm-hmm.
helped quite a bit. I mean, it still helps now, but I didn't have that hurdle. Just a strong biker because I lived in Duluth, Minnesota, which is infamous for their hills. And, at that point, there wasn't as many women in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't say it was easy to win, but there wasn't the amount of women in the sport.
Yeah.
So, um, so I thought, okay, how am I going to get to this race now? So a friend of mine told me about this guy named Steve Head, and Steve had owned a bike shop. And I went into his shop, and there he was, barefoot, shirtless, grease ball,
I would
permed
say
hair.
hot. No,
No, yeah.
no.
So it wasn't love at first sight. But I said a friend of mine said you would give me the $100. That's what it cost to enter the Ironman back then. It's gone up quite a bit since then. And so, he wrote me out a check
Wow.
and said here, and then, we became friends, and he gave me my first like nice bike, which was a Mixie Basso that had a down tube for women. Um, and we just became friends. We both were dating others at the time, but we both knew that we had something special together. So,
Mm-hmm.
we ended up starting to date, and I then was picked up by a team called Mizuno. So Mizuno had Julie Moss on it. Uh,
Oh,
this guy named,
wow.
yeah, so Scott Molina, and I started racing the tri circuit, and Stephen saw Francisco Mosier, who is still alive, set the hour record on double disc wheels. So back then there wasn't a lot of aerodynamic products out there,
Mm-hmm.
but Stephen had a love of Italian racing and speed. So he saw this record getting broken, and he saw that the full disc wheels were like $6,000, which is an absolute fortune
Uh-huh.
for wheels. And he did not have an engineering background, but he had made water skis. So he went in his garage. He made a wheel, a disc wheel, a solid wheel, and a friend of his had the first one. He gave the second one to me. So I had a disc wheel, and I was on this team, Mizuno, and Scott Molina said, "Where'd you get that?" And I'm like, "Well, my friend made it." And he said, "Well, I want one." So we made one for him. And Scott Molina, depending on how many folks remember that name, listening to the podcast, won everything. Like in the early 80s, there was Scott Molina, Mark Allen, Scott Tinley, and Dave Scott. He was one of the four. And all of a sudden, people wanted this disc wheel. So he had a shop. I was racing, and very little money, both of us. And I saw that there was a car for the first prize in a race in Vermont. This is in the 80s. This is
Yeah,
80.
yeah. Uh-huh.
So, so I got on a plane, flew there, and somebody found me a house stay like they still do today, and I was in Brattleboro, Vermont, and it was a kind of a different race. It was a swim run bike. But if you beat a predetermined time in the race, you won a car.
Oh,
So, um,
like a finishing time?
yes. Yeah, you had to
Okay.
win the race, and you had to win it in a certain time. So I remember being on the bike, and I just remember being so close to that time limit, but I came across the finish line, I think 5 minutes ahead of the time. So I won a car.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah,
God, that's awesome.
it was. It still is just a dream for me. It was a Subaru.
Oh
Um,
geez, like a top car, like
it
a
was.
good quality car. Yeah.
Yes. So, I brought it back home and Steven said, "Well, we need more to make more of these wheels. They're becoming more popular." So I went to imagine me, 21 years old, walking to banks, with a bike wheel saying, "I need money for this," and getting turned down, of course, which is normal. But one banker said to me, "Well, what do you have?" And I said, "Well, I have a car and a bike." And he said, "Well, do you own the car?" And I'm like, "Well, I just won it." So I gave him the title of the car and he gave me $14,000.
Oh, that's a lot of money back then.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
still is. So I took the money and gave it to Steve and we started Head Cycling
Wha
together.
Okay. Wow. So you started this out of his, I guess you said garage. Like
Hmm.
a lot of dreams, like cycling shops start out of garages, and they
Sure.
just progress to. So then, how did how did it start rolling? Like you got this money, you started the company together. I guess that's the start of your relationship together, or did that start before?
We didn't get married right away. So we we decided that we would start a business. And back then there was, a way different ways of doing business. I mean, I had no idea there was UPS that would come and pick up at your house. I mean, imagine that, or FedEx, whatever. So, we would make one wheel out of a time. And, we would then go to bike shows back then. It was called Interbike, and people
Yeah.
would start seeing our product. We
Isn't
start,
that still exists though? Intrabike, doesn't it?
no, not anymore.
No. Okay.
No. There's, like Sea Otter now is probably the biggest
Oh,
US one,
okay. Right.
but this is different. So, it just kind of became word of mouth. There wasn't, the internet. There was, races that we'd go to. Maybe the first year we made 30 wheels, the second year we made 100 wheels, and then, the phones started ringing more and more. We started just getting more and more athletes wanting our wheels and bike shops. There really wasn't another, I would say, similar wheel on the market, so we were fortunate. Um, we did get a phone call from this kid in Texas, and he said he was going to be a big bike racer. So, you know, coming from a background of having to ask for sponsorship, which is really hard,
Mm-hmm.
to still do, I could kind of hear something in the voice of this young man. And so I sent him a wheel, and he broke it. So I'm like, wait a minute, this is a young kid breaking wheels. And so I sent him another wheel and started giving him some money to get some feedback, and it turned out to be Lance Armstrong.
I was like, what are the odds of it being lax? You said Texas,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Oh shit! Wow.
Yeah. So, obviously he went on to race and win
Mm-hmm.
a lot of races. I know different people have different perspectives, but he was able to use our product and wanted to use our product and kept our decal on it. So, that opened the door to a whole nother world for us using our product. But we we materialized from a solid disc wheel in 1990. We knew we needed a front wheel that was aero. So you
Right.
cannot ride front discs. So
Right.
we invented and patented a kind of the first toroidal shape, the first deep 60 millimeter wheel that most
Mm.
wheels are like today. So we were really at the forefront of the aerodynamics, and we went to a wind tunnel in Texas, A&M, and tested and brought riders in there. So we were really known for pushing the envelope in aerodynamics, but also working with athletes.
Were you able to do that kind of testing when you started your disc wheel, or was it more just on word of mouth? Like, did you do any of that aerodynamics testing to know that the disc wheel was very effective?
Well, we knew that, I mean, a solid wheel in a
Mm-hmm.
shape that we use, which is curved, we knew a structure like that would be faster than any
Right.
spoked wheel. So that was a for sure thing. We worked with Stephen and I worked with another engineer to design the shape of
Hmm.
a 60 millimeter front and then bringing that to the wind tunnel to test it. And that's where we knew that it had the
Like the
aerodynamics.
couple, the two wheels together.
Hmm. Yeah.
Jeez. So how did it move on from that? So you have 6 years, so 84 to 90. You just had your disc wheel, and then you produced a a second wheel. So now you had two wheels.
Right.
And then where did it go from there?
Well, we decided to get married in 1990. So,
Yay! Let's get
yeah.
married.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because, we always knew we would get married, but we just decided we should actually get married. So in 1990, we got married, introduced what we called the first toroidal shaped, deeper composite wheel. And, we also were very inventive and we invented like one of the very first behind the seat water bottle cages. We called it tails, get it, head, tails,
Yeah, yeah.
Um, we invented a Aero water bottle, and it ended up getting outlawed because it was too aero. Probably today it would probably be fine. But then we started pushing the envelope into other more affordable ways to manufacture carbon wheels. So the first toroidal shape wheel was pretty much all very structural carbon and alloy. So we came out with what's called the Jet series, which is basically an aluminum rim with a carbon fairing. And that then jumped and made a leap into more sales because it was just more affordable.
And
So
more
that
people would would ride that type of wheel over a disc wheel.
Yeah, and we then took a 60 millimeter wheel and decided, okay, well, it's windy and Kona, you don't always want a 60 millimeter, so we invented a 40 millimeter. And then we decided we needed a 90 millimeter because we'd put that on the back. So it kind of was the whole lineup of the jet lineup. And we actually still make all those wheels in some shape or form today, depending on the course obviously in the winds, we have quite a bit of differences we
Right.
can do.
So do you produce all of your wheels in the United States now?
Everything that we mold in carbon fiber is made white here in Minnesota. So we have the belief that we want to keep all of our trade secrets in-house here.
Right.
So we do all of the carbon molding in Minnesota. Yes. So the alloy wheels that we introduce later, because some people want aluminum, so we do not get that made here in the U.S. We get the rims extruded overseas and then bring them here, but we do all of the assembly here for alloy.
Right. Okay, so you just bring the rims and then you put the spokes together with the hubs and
Right.
everything.
Yep.
Ah, wow. That is, I love hearing that they're in-house because I just know so many others that, you know, produce them and they come from Taiwan or, and then they put their labels on them. And so that's a really big plus for your product that
Yeah.
everybody,
Hmm.
yeah.
I'm super proud of that. I think a lot of our carbon's woven here right in the US. And I think that we can really control everything. So, when we introduce a wheel or we sit down and figure out what we're going to make, we have everything in house from the raw materials to a five-axis CNC, which is a machine that can make the mold. So we don't only mold it, we machine everything. So we start from a drawing in CAD. So I have engineers and other folks that take that conceptual idea, turn it into a drawing, put it into a CNC machine, cut the aluminum to make the mold, then mold it all in-house, finish it. Everything we do here in Minnesota is pretty green. We do not do any paint. So, correct, a lot of the wheels made overseas, and I'm not going to say they're bad because they're fine. Aerodynamically, they're similar, some, but ours are still, you know, really the fastest because we have patents to prove that. But a lot of people don't understand that the wheels that they're buying on their bike that are made overseas, are painted. So you don't always know what's in them. And they look like ours.
Oh,
So
so
ours
where
come
you
out of the mold.
see where you might think that you're getting carbon wheels, you might not necessarily be getting carbon wheels. Is that what you're saying?
Or you're getting something similar to carbon.
Similar.
Yeah. Or so you can actually see all the weave of our carbon. And I think that besides that, we have all the in-house testing equipment. So before we put a wheel on the market, it
Mm-hmm.
has to pass very rigorous testing.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a machine that we put it on that we run several miles on with simulated cobblestones and bumps. We have a lean test. We have a greenhouse to see what heat does to it. We have the impact. We have it all in-house so that we really can take the extra amount of time to make sure that our wheels are fast and safe.
Yeah, it also speeds up the time to going back to the drawing board. You go test it, doesn't work. Okay, let's go. And so you don't have that downtime where like you'd have to send things off. And I love that about your company. It's really relieving to know that you know there are still really good quality cycling companies that are doing everything like in house, like you said, and keeping also just hiring and keeping your team here too, where you don't like you just produce everything and send it off.
Yeah, so I think another thing that, makes us stand out a bit is that over 35% of the workforce is female. So, that is rare,
Yay! Yeah.
in the manufacturing, and we have, a very diverse group of folks that work alongside me and my other staff, which is very welcoming. And, it's just very reassuring that, we have the ability to hire people, pay a livable wage, provide insurance here, in the US is very expensive and, other ancillary products of, retirement plans and such like that. So, it is probably part of the reason why some of our products you may pay a little bit more for because,
Hmm.
we have to uh, live. We have to be able
Right.
to provide for other people where I think some of the other companies, again, coming out of overseas where everything comes in a box complete and you don't really
Hmm.
understand, if you call, you're going to get somebody picking up the phone and welcoming you.
Hmm.
We do have voicemail, but it goes through a tree and we try to make sure that a human picks it up before it goes to voicemail.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's really important that it also keeps your clients happy, not your clients, your staff happy and around for a long time.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about like lots of, turnover. So can you share with us anything else? Because I know that you're on a time crunch and I just want to say that I'm super grateful to have you here. But is there anything you want to share with us that's maybe coming up next year for 2024 that you're going to surprise us with? Do you have new athletes that you're now working with? Yeah, we'd love to know.
Sure. So, we had a big year last year. So, we introduced the 180 at the Hawaiian Ironman last year. So, we were able to take an idea that I had of making a very deep wheel for the Hawaiian Ironman. So, within 45 days, we took an idea to a product and hand delivered it to about 5 or 6 men and women over in Kona, and that wheel broke the race course record
Wow.
by 6 minutes. But again, being able to do everything in-house was
Hmm.
a bit of a miracle. If I were to go back to my staff this time of year and say, okay, we're going to do that again, they would probably walk out because that was the biggest timeline. That was probably one of the most craziest things I've done owning this company is saying we're going to get an idea and a new product out in 45 days from start to finish.
Uh-huh.
Um, So that was a huge boost for the company last year because, it set the course record by a
Right.
lot,
Yeah.
So we have Gravel Worlds coming up, Big
Oh,
Sugar.
see, I was going to ask, like, because you've talked a lot about triathlon. Now, are you migrating as well into the gravel world? Because you don't do disc wheels on the gravel. What are you offering for gravel? You got gravel worlds.
Yeah, so, a lot of people don't know this, but my late husband Steve's family grew up on a farm in Minnesota, and a lot of his ideas came from riding bike off-road or
On the
on gravel. So, farm roads. So,
farm roads. Yep.
so we actually invented kind of the widest rim
Oh,
that hadn't been done before in alloy in gosh, around 2010. So then we made the plus rim, which was 23 millimeters wide a few years after that. And then we made the 25 plus alloy rim and carbon rim after that. So we really were the first to go wider in the industry. It is our Ardennes lineup or Belgium in the road. And then we, about 4 years ago, introduced a wheel after the town of Emporia. So we have a wheel called the Emporia rim, uh,
nice.
specifically for gravel.
Uh
So
huh.
we have made a hookless gravel wide wheel for several years now. So we have been in
Mm.
that space.
There was a company that was at because I went because as you know I competed at Unbound. I did the XL and
Crazy.
yeah, I know I'm going back. So
Yes.
like I've got to.
Oh.
I missed the cutoff by an hour on the last cutoff, so I missed finishing by 45 miles. So,
Oh,
and I was completely like it wasn't like I was spent or anything. They told us to get off the course, so I was like,
oh,
and then I saw
uh,
somebody finish, and I was like, even I was like,
uh,
what? Anyways, but there was somebody there. There was a company. They were just renting space, and they had a what you said a hookless rim as
yeah,
well.
most of them are. I mean, when you get to the wider gravel rims, a lot of them
Okay.
are hookless. Like I said, we've had a wheel on the market for called the Emporia for 3 or 4 years now, I think. But going back to Emporia and Unbound, I was there this year, and obviously you're right. We were Rach McBride's pit, and I
Oh,
think
you were. Oh, I didn't realize that you were her pet. Oh my god, that's
yes.
awesome.
So I had signed up to maybe do the short one, but I had a little injury. So I, along with Catherine and Andy Tetmeyer, we went on the head van and, the very first pit stop at 40 miles in, we're waiting for Rach to come. And this is kind of a funny story. So I this gentleman came rolling up on his bike, just desperate. He had broke a spoke on a wheel. It wasn't our wheel, but he was like, "I will give you anything to give me a wheel." And we're like, "Well, we can't give you these wheels. These are Rach's backup wheels." But Andy, bless his heart, took the wheel off of his bike, and
Oh,
it had passed most prototyping stages, but he was riding it. So we said, "Here you go." And we helped him get going again. And then we saw Rach again. Oh gosh, I think it was at the 100 and something stop. And it had rained, it was horrible, people were dropping out. And here I see this guy rolling by, and I'm like, okay, he's made it 100 and plus. But I think what was so amazing is that as being a pit in our van, we had to go back and get somebody because they had fallen, and we were picking up people along the way. One person was sick. We gave him a ride. Another lady couldn't fix her flat. We fixed her flat. Another guy didn't have a tube. So, and then another one of the top pros, dad didn't have oil for something. And so we were really helping everybody out. It wasn't just Rach. And I think that was more fun I don't want to say it wasn't fun helping Rach. It was. But what I
She had
really,
her own little, because I interviewed her after as well, and she had her own thing going on with her tires and everything. But
yeah, Rach had lost some air pressure and we had to put all new tires on Rach's bike. But I got to the finish line and, it was horrible, as you know, the weather, and I don't
yeah,
need to tell you how horrible it was.
yeah.
But I saw this man come by who we had given the wheel to, um, and he had absolute gratitude. Like, what can I do for you? Is there anything I can do for you? And I'm like, no, no, I'm glad. And he goes, okay, I know you're not going to take money from me, but is there a nonprofit I can donate to? And so,
Oh,
so I gave him the name of Free Bike for Kids, which I love helping out. And lo and behold, Tuesday he came back from that event and already was working on getting this nonprofit a donation. And why I say that is, as I sit here right now, and we've just had the Maui fires and the
mm-hmm.
Big Island fires, we are actually running a special where we are going to have the proceeds of a specific wheel, that 180 wheel that we sent to and debuted at Kona with the jet wheel, to help the victims of the recent wildfires. So we really believe in giving back also to the community.
Yeah, I did see that on. I think it was TikTok
Mm.
when I was looking through your socials that you were. So for everybody who's listening, um, if where are you taking donations? Oh no, sorry. If you purchase one of the set of wheels, right?
Right.
Then part. So which set again?
It's
Is
the Jet series.
the
Yeah.
Jet series? So,
Yeah.
so any one of the Jet series?
Yep.
Then part of that will go to the charity that they're or the fundraising they're doing for Hawaii. And you can check that out on the descriptions going to their TikTok account. I didn't see it on Instagram. Maybe it's on your stories, but I just saw the post on TikTok with more of the details. So if you're considering buying a set of wheels from HED, then this is probably the best time, and you can actually help the charity as well. So, do we have stuff for next year? Are you going
Oh,
to be
right.
back to Unbound?
Absolutely. We're going to be
Oh,
back.
good.
We're looking at introducing some new gravel wheels. So those are coming down the pipeline. And we're always innovating. So we have some other wheels. It's hard to reinvent a wheel, but we've
Mm-hmm.
got some other hookless designs coming out also. So,
Cool.
just have to stay tuned. And we do have on our website right now a link to the wheels that we will be doing and helping out the wildflower folks. But it's just what you need to do in this day and age.
Yeah.
It's important.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely important to give back. There's lots of stuff happening around the world. I don't know if you've heard about Yellowknife. They're evacuating up here in Canada. They're
Yes.
evacuating like 20,000 people by
Yeah.
today noon
Mm.
from Yellowknife because of forest fires.
Yeah.
So
Unfortunately, we do get the smoke, because we're in Minnesota. So
you're
we
right.
we have been recipients of the devastation also down here just because of the air quality. And I think today we're on alert also
Are
because of
you? Wow.
the smoke coming down. I know. I just so sad, you know.
Yeah. Well, let's go on a positive note. I hope
Right.
everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. I am certainly really grateful to have you on the podcast, and I look forward to meeting you in person when back at Unbound, because I am going to be back there to close up my Strava link.
Mhm.
My Strava for the course. But I really do appreciate having you on here. And any last words? I was like a little
Any
bit of a
last
last.
words? Oh my gosh.
Uh,
It's just a real blessing that I was able to talk about my story and,
mm-hmm.
the adversities everybody goes through and the ups and downs in life. But I just keep falling forward. So let's just one foot in front of the other, and hopefully I can meet some of the folks listening to this either at Unbound, or I'm going
Or
to
Gravel Worlds,
Gravel World,
Yeah.
Kona, and who knows about next year. So I can't plan that far ahead. I'm just kind of spur of the moment. So we'll see.
I know you got lots of things to do this afternoon, so we'll just finish it up and thank everybody. So make sure that you follow on their socials. Everything's in the description, and I think it's just HED Cycling, HED, on straight across the board. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and also follow the podcast on Instagram and YouTube. So thank you very much, Anne. Have yourself an amazing day, and everybody, make sure you ride your bike.
Take care.
All right, friends. Well, there you have it. That's an amazing story from Anne. I love the fact that everything is US made. You can't find very many companies that keep everything in-house and produce all their products and test their products in-house, which is amazing. So it just goes to say, like she says, they might be a bit more expensive, but that is why. The quality is there, the testing is there, the science is there, and that's why they're top quality brands. But I'm super excited. I'm going to have to keep an eye out for their new gravel wheels as they come out next year. And I have heard of the new hookless when I was at Unbound, and that was pretty interesting stuff to see those wheels. And so knowing that there's other companies out there like HED, and I'm always a supporter of family-run family-run businesses. I don't know if you are, but put in the comments if you are. If you go out of your way to purchase and support local or in-country companies like HED, everything's made in the US, and so love to know your feedback, and love to know if you go out of your way to buy local and be local, and maybe your favorite local company that you purchased cycling products for, because maybe I just might reach out to them and ask them to be a guest on the podcast. So with that, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe and put the notifications on our YouTube channel so you don't miss another episode, and subscribe on Bcast. You can do that through Secrets from the Saddle podcast.ca. You can sign up to the newsletter, the letter that will let you know every time an episode is launched. So thanks everybody. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for spending this time with me on the Secrets from the Saddle podcast, learning more about sighting people, places, and things that make cycling such an exciting sport. I am so glad you stopped by today. Please leave me a review if you feel so moved to do so. I would love to hear your feedback. And if you could take 1 second to share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it, I would be forever grateful. Also, if you could please leave me a review if you feel so moved by going to iTunes and leaving me an honest thought and an honest comment, telling me what you think, and most importantly, tell me what you'd like to hear more of. It would really help me to bring more great, inspiring cycling stories to you. Until then, have an amazing day, make sure you ride your bike, and don't forget to visit my YouTube channel if you'd like to see the full version of this podcast live.